Welcome back to Eye on the Money. Today we're talking about how to prepare your children for inheritance. We looked at the figures, and currently in Kenya, 30% out of the sampled respondents said they do not trust their children to manage their inheritance well, just in case they leave them behind with what they've acquired. Joining me today to break it down all for us and help us understand how to just mentally prepare your families and children on how to manage your inheritance is author and CEO Money Clinic, Amos Ngahu. Amos, to get right back into the conversation, I want you to explain to us, even as we talk about, make sure your children understand the importance of financial management right from an early age. Think about their interests before you decide who to give what. Mm-hmm. We've also seen in the more recently, mm-hmm. where families sit down the head of the home decides this is what I have. Maybe sits down with a legal team even. This is what I have. This is how I want to apportion it. And they actually sit down with the wife and the children and have an open conversation. This is what's available. This is how we're going to go about it. What would be your take on that? And is that actually a viable way of, managing your finances and preparing your children for inheritance?
Well, depending if it's the first meeting or you've been having these meetings all along, is it your family culture? Because sometimes all of a sudden you've been busy working hard and you've accumulated wealth, and all of a sudden you realize I have so much wealth, I've amassed so much wealth, now I need to talk to my family. You need to be very careful, because if you have created wealth and you've been absent and you've not been releasing these funds or resources to your young ones, you've already made them poor mentally. You understand? Someone was sharing that money does not change people. It just unlocks the chains of this person who had been locked up in poverty. You understand? So if, for instance, you've never held a meeting in terms of what we have, you're only holding it now when the kids are older, trust you me, when they come over there, they just want to know what is coming my way. Okay? But if you've been having these meetings periodically, if you have young children, right, tell them, this year we want to acquire a home. This home is going to cost us this. We are going to take a mortgage, or we are going to take this loan from the circle. This is what it means. That means we will not be eating sausages every day. We'll shift. You understand?
Right.
So that they understand the process.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
But if this is the first time you're having a meeting, and probably most guys do this on the deathbed. You understand? Yeah. So by the time, if your kids had left and they had you are not very nice to them, they had left, they have an ear to listen to what is coming to them. So I believe it's a time that this discussion is held in every family, regardless of the age of your children. I have seen cases whereby a known businessman where I've come from had trucks of land, vehicles. The kids would ask, I want to go to school, we want fare, use my bus. You want clothes, I have a clothes store. I want to go to college, I'll pay the fee. So he never gave them cash. So the kids, one by one, they left to go abroad. When the father died, they all came back. They subdivided equally. And that property now has actually devalued. Oh. You understand?
Yeah.
So because this guy did it too late, okay? So it's a discussion that needs to be held. And let me tell you something. We have very intelligent children, unless you have seen from an early age that these guys are not. They just want to build themselves. So it is very important, whether you want to include a lawyer, it's something that should be a discussion, Start from knowing, is my child, first of all, how are they faring on in their personal finances?
Right.
Because based on how they are doing individually, will make them either rush towards looking at the wealth as becoming too small. They will start threatening each other. They will start saying so and so is a favorite. Yet it's it's what is in their mind, is what they feel like money is all about. So first of all, have this meeting, find out how each of the children is doing financially in their career, so that you see how you can help them. And then from there, run tests. I have a friend of mine who he's quite older, and he had quite a number of, he had many wives, and he had more children. So he called all his children together and the wife. So he started calling random meetings to see who would keep time.
Right.
The guy would say, next week on Thursday, we are meeting at 5 a.m. in my office, in a family meeting. And he would not repeat it anywhere else. So the more he would run it, the more he realized two of his children from different wives were always on time, and they were always even arranging something for him. And he realized that these were guys who would run his business. So over time, he knew who he would leave the management of the business to, especially as the majority shareholder, so that decision making is going on. So it has to be very intentional. And I like the way some of these programs we've watched, like The Apprentice, where guys do thorough, thorough assignments, thorough checkups, thorough tests to see if this person qualifies. Because it's a vision.
Yes.
And the other thing is that most parents, you need to understand that vision is going to outlive you. You understand?
Yes.
And it's going to outlive your children. So the person you leave behind necessarily may not have to be your child. You understand?
Yeah.
It could be someone else who's running a similar vision. So don't just lock it to what your child can do, And that's why I like what Warren Buffett did, because I already personally, I have two boys. And the firstborn is totally different from me. He might pursue a different career. So why should I force him to do what I do? You understand?
Right.
I have no business forcing him. So it's up to me now, even as I build a team of young guys to do what I do, to just continue helping them, because it's not about the money. It's about financial literacy getting to the ground. You understand? So if I can build a team that can get it down there faster, even faster than my children before they grow up, then let's do it.
But what about this parent who wants to retain my wealth within my family? Because it's true in African traditional society, especially when it comes to the boys, you'll see fathers forcing it. No, he has to be part of this legacy. No, he has to carry on my legacy. No, he has to own my hotels. No, he has to be the face in front of it. What if I'm at that point? I already dropped the ball at some point. I'm not seeing too much hope in terms of them sustainably carrying on my, my legacy or my name, or even retaining their family wealth, and yet I'm so hell-bent on it. What would you say in terms of actually then going the normal route where you get a professional to do this, even if it means incorporating a lawyer or getting a professional personal finance, person who watches the books? What advice would you give in that situation?
Well, we need to totally detach ourselves from our wealth, because our wealth doesn't define us. And that is one of the things that I've come to learn later in life. Some of the people who have had a great impact in your life are not necessarily the richest. You understand? Right. Some of the people who even pass on, like the late president, people will not tell you he had this money, he drove this car, but they will tell you he took me through school. You understand?
Right.
So getting the bigger vision of what you want to do with your wealth, it will make things easier for you to know who to allocate these things to. Because at the end of the day, it's not how much money you can amass or the storage you can store, is how you can impact people with that wealth.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
So for me, if you are having trouble as a parent distributing this wealth, probably you need to relook at your attitude towards money, because that way is even what you teach your children.
Right.
Yes. Because if you're holding on to your money, it becomes a very difficult process to release it to your children. And even for them, once they acquire it, it was going to be a very difficult time for them to release it.
Because that's what they know. That's how they've been brought up.
So we need to create more of what we call transformational wealth.
Right.
That is transforming people's lives, is doing, because at the end of the day, for me, I personally speaking for myself, is how I can impact you to make better decisions with your money, create wealth, and touch someone else's life. And I realized the other day, I just, the way sometimes you feel like, am I having a proper impact? And I realized there was a time I used to struggle to find food. You understand?
Yeah.
Until you go to the security guard opens for you and they tell you, hey, today it's a bit cold, and you can be able to give them coffee and a snack.
Yes.
And you realize people are at different stages. And this person is not like they will repay you, but seeing the smile in them, seeing the joy of them serving, at the end of the day, that is what our money or our wealth should be able to help us do. not just because you can't acquire everything.
The whole world.
You can't.
Thank you very much for coming onto the show today, Amos, to help us discuss this pertinent topic and that almost affects all of us. Unfortunately, we've come to the end, but as usual, I'll leave you with our financial tip. It's ultimately up to you how and to whom the wealth is transferred. If you need help, don't be afraid to ask and pay for it. Bringing in the right type of advisors could prevent you from making some big financial mistakes. Setting up a family inheritance requires a great deal of wisdom and preparation. It's necessary though, no matter how much wealth you plan to transfer to the next generation. Your family will be hurting emotionally at your death. The last thing they need to worry about is what to do with your assets. Well, that's where we wrap it up today on Eye on the Money. You can keep the conversation going on our social media pages at Metropole TV on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. I'm Ingrid Nantege. Don't go anywhere because we have so much more amazing programming coming your way right here on Metropole TV.